Luxury begins with L. Lexus. Experience amazing. Discover the all-electrified range at Lexus Letterkenny.
Sport on Highland is brought to you by Michael Murphy Sports and Leisure, where the winter sale is now on with up to 50% off. Get great savings on runners and leisure wear in store and online at michaelmurphysports.ie.
Welcome back to Highland Radio Sunday Sport. Time checking, 20 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock. And I'm not going to lie to you, I've been looking forward to this interview all day, coming up the road in the car, very excited. And delighted to say he's certainly a regular voice on the airwaves of Highland Radio. But it is fantastic to have him here in person, in studio, this Sunday evening it is. The one and only Patsy McGonagle. Patsy, how's the form?
Form's grand. Thankfully, Ciaran, I'm delighted to be here.
Patsy, obviously you are here today. There's only one place to start. That is, you are the latest inductee into the Donegal Sports Star Hall of Fame Awards. These awards will take place on Friday, the 31st of January. The Mount Erigal Hotel in Letterkenny is the venue. It's a sold-out event already. And what does this mean to Patsy McGonagle? Patsy, the latest inductee into the awards.
Well, it's a great honour, obviously, to follow some of the names that have been lined out there by previously in the media. Not only from my sport but through the sport in Donegal, and it's a great honour, and I'm privileged, really privileged to be in this position and to accept the award.
Patsy, we're now going to delve into some of your life and career highlights. We're going to go back to the start. Your dad was a Hall of Fame winner back in 1995. Is it fair for me to say he was a huge influence in your career and as a child growing up?
Well, you probably weren't. I wasn't aware of that at the time. I mean, I remember as a very small boy going to matches, Irish League matches as it was then, because he played with Derry City in the final phase of his career. He had played for other League of Ireland teams in that in the Dublin area, like Shelburne and Bows and that, and of course went to the Olympics as a Bows player in 1948. So, but I'd say there was always that reference, in conversations and. Growing up, and I do remember my mother bringing me to games, and I do remember the atmosphere in some of the grounds, because Derry in the Irish League it was heavy stuff, in those days, and it was a different world. But sure, look, it was an experience, and it was really privileged now when I think back on it to be involved in that. And then summer cups were a big deal, massive thing growing up, not only in my town but all over the place. And obviously I was at every blinking summer cup that ever was, because he always played for Finn Harps in the junior cups and that, and the summer cups, and as he got older and older, but that was the massive crowds going to summer cups in those days. Places like Swilly, Buncrana, and indeed Ballybofey, and teams like Killybegs, believe it or not, had a really good team back then, and that always stood out in my memory. And of course Swilly and Rathmullen and places like that,
Patsy, we're going to start off now. Primary school, the great Sheshanil National School, and on into County Derry, columns and County Derry for your secondary education, boarding. How did that prepare you for the big real world?
Well, I was a green young fella coming out of Ballybofey and shy, and no great knowledge of the world, and I was 11, probably 12, going on 12 years of age, and homesickness was the biggest memory I have in those early years. And I was seriously homesick. Indeed, I was homesick right till the very end of my five years there. But that was normal as well for boarders and diocesan schools throughout the country at that time. I was there from 60 to 65, but where did the athletics come into it? Which I was very lucky. I mean, life is about opportunities. And why am I sitting here today and we're talking about athletics and we're talking about a Hall of Fame? Really, just because a priest came onto the staff in my final couple of years at St. Columns, a young priest just out of Maynooth, and he was an athletics man, and he introduced athletics, and it was like introducing athletics to Forrest Gump in my case, and I'll explain that, because you get outside the walls. And I used to run out that road, out the Derry Road towards Letterkenny, and I used to really drive it hard, because I was always this subconscious thing, could I get to the border and I would have to turn because time was against me. But it was one of those situations, and I have so clear memories of it. But that was the opportunity, and that worked with me then. It made life bearable in the boarding school. Also, what was going on then at that time in St. Columns, the Gaelic football was introduced by Father McCullen, who played under the pseudonym of Sean Maguire for Fermanagh, because priests at that time weren't allowed to use their own name and all that kind of thing. And we won the Hogan Cup, so that was seriously exciting at the time. But look, those last couple of years were good, and the athletics was introduced, and I found I had a bit of talent at the athletics, and it probably gave me a lot of confidence too in myself, But that was me in athletics on the road then,
Plenty of athletics talk coming up, Patsy. And you did talk about Gaelic games. As a teenager, were there other sports? And you obviously talented at athletics. Were you talented at any other sports as well, Patsy?
No, I wouldn't really say I was. I don't really think I was. I tried everything. Obviously, played everything. Mostly Gaelic and soccer. Soccer was dominant in the playground in St. Columns, and then the Gaelic was introduced. But you played. All your spare time was involved in playing football and stuff. I played with Finn Harps when it was just the ordinary local team as it was then, and Fran used to put teams together, and you down in the field, the same place, over the gate and through the hedge, and we played, and it was a playground as much as anything else. So no, I played all sports. Played a lot of golf as well, because my mother and father were big into the golf, and I was good at the golf. I can say truthfully I was good at the golf, but like a young lad too, I was erratic. I could go bogey and par, and then go take 10 at the next hole. Being a young lad, but I have a great memory in golf, playing in an open golf competition at 11 years of age, and the men weren't too impressed, but I was good at the golf.
We're going to talk about a key development in your life in 1971. But before we talk about that, is there a highlight in Patsy McGonagle, the athlete? Is there a highlight, Patsy McGonagle, the athlete? Maybe it was in college or as a teenager. Was there a standout memory?
Well, there was a college, you see, in London, obviously St Mary's in Twickenham, and then again there was athletics. Again, I was lucky, and again I landed on my feet in terms of that, and that was in the late 60s, and I was running there on a team with probably some of the best athletes in the world maybe at the time, because the Africans hadn't really come on the scene. So the British athletes, some of the very good ones, David Bedford, world record holder, and Bycourt, who was a Commonwealth Games medalist in steeplechase. We were on that team, so I was seriously involved on a weekly basis. I was training hard. I was logging up 70, 80, 90, 100 miles a week like everybody else, and that was it. And I was a team member basically, and there was highlights. There was highlights on an ongoing basis simply because we had a great team. And we competed in, which was a great thrill back then, as you can imagine, in universities competitions in Europe. So that was good as well. So now there was a lot of learning in it, which I was able to use down the road, Ciaran. So it was I was to say I was lucky, but I took opportunities. I really, when things were presented, I didn't let them go, and that's a message that I've tried to get out there time and time again. When I talk to schools, when I talk to young people, you're going to get opportunities. You either take them or you don't, and you need to take responsibility for yourself. And this is me talking to young people now, and from the last many years. But I took those opportunities.
I spent lots of time as a young fella in the Twin Town area, and I cannot imagine that area without the Finn Valley Athletic Centre and without the Finn Valley Athletics Club. In 1971, Patsy McGonagle founded the Finn Valley Athletics Club. Can you talk to me how this idea came about, Patsy, and did it take long to get it off the ground?
That's a very interesting question, and a good question, Ciaran, because what the background to that was there was a couple of youth clubs, annual sports, school sports held by a couple of people in the town. I wasn't involved at all, and on the back of that happened through 69 and 70, and on the back of that I could see an opportunity. Now I was in Glenties, and I had a club started in Glenties, and I was taking people from the Twin Towns to Glenties to compete for Glenties. I used to fill a van, an old van, and I used to put maybe 20, 25 wains in the back of the van, and away we go up the road to Glenties, and I got some of the boys in Balbafay to drive it. I used to get a lot of the cleaner's van, actually. We used to take the clothes out of the van and throw the wains into the van, and that's how the local youngsters. So then it came around, as you say, in 1971. I'd left Glenties. I had been teaching in Glenties, and for 69 to 71, and then I was going back to study again in London, and I thought there's an opportunity here to start an athletic club. If I let it go, if I wait till I come back, you don't know what's going to happen. So I was about a week away from going back to England, to London, and I decided to call a meeting of people that I felt, mainly parents of ones that were in the back of that van. And so basically what happened then was people came in Jackson's Hotel. Interestingly, why are we blue and white? Well, Finn Harps were the story, and they were Finn Harps colours, and that's his colours. The other interesting thing about that, why Finn Valley, why not Balbafay, why not Sternardo, names like that. And I remember clearly stating that this is not going to be about Balbafay. This is going to be about the Finn Valley, the area of the Finn Valley, and you know, I'm so happy years and years later that name came true because you know, it was too parochial, and life was very parochial back then, and I was trying to break out of the parochialism, you know, because I didn't want people. I wanted the Castle Finn people, Killigordon people, and so on, Glen Finn, we're all to be on the same level, and it worked out really well.
We spoke about the Twin Towns. You spoke about Glenties, parts of Donegal, various parts including Killybegs. Let's move on to your country. You managed Team Ireland at Whitford, 4 Olympic Games. And before we talk about the Olympics, can you talk about the lead up to your first Olympics? Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was Sydney was the first one. Talk to me about that phone call. And was it an offer, or was it a meeting that you had in relation to managing your country?
Well, it was a meeting in Dublin. And my head was zeroed in on it for quite some years. I had begun to manage Irish teams back from '92. Having been very successful with Finn Valley, it kind of became a process to move to Ireland, and I was managing under 20 teams all the way to world level, and you know, as far away as Korea and through Europe and stuff, and you know, I had got the bug for that, and I knew, to be honest with you, and I'll say it myself, I was good at it, and I was good at relating. I was good at leading. I was enthusiastic. I had serious energy, and I was excited. You know, getting into that car and driving to the airport, and you know, having done all the work beforehand and staying on the phone. And I was good at contacting. That was unusual back then for Ireland and Irish managers and that, because generally what happened before I came on board, everybody just turned up at the airport and took it from there. You know, but I built up relationships, and that all worked in my favour. So I worked on towards, you know, I had managed national cross-country teams, I had managed the junior teams, I had managed European Cup teams, and then the big one was the Olympic Games. And yes, there was a meeting in Dublin, and you know, people decided that I'd be the man to manage the team, and Jesus, I was seriously excited, you know, and I kind of felt, well, I'll get one shot at the Olympics, and you know, I'm going to really enjoy it. And Sydney was such an exciting outlet, you know, for me. And the only thing, there was like the usual Irish story. There was a big divide between the Olympic Council of Ireland and Irish athletics, and you know, there was cheekers. You know, it was difficult. It was stressful. It was everything that it shouldn't have been. But myself, I just kind of separated the athletes and myself from the organisation, and there was a lot of silly bullies at the time in Athletics Ireland, and unfortunately, and they made life very difficult, because there was always gear issues, and there was no sense to some of the stuff, and I made decisions, and I was good at that. And the athletes were with me 100%. So I knew when I had the athletes with me, I was on a winner. And that's me in Sydney. As I say, a great experience. We spent 7 weeks there. I had been out to Sydney a few times to get training camps organised and stuff like that. Not so much to Sydney, but to Australia. And again, a lot of learning, a way to learning. The journey was the devil of all devils, because I hated that trip to Australia's devil of a spin, you know. But basically, other than that, and I was lucky too, you know. And I need to relate to it too. You know, I was in the regional college, the LYT as it was to become and stuff, and they were supportive of me, and they acknowledged me, and that was important. If I'd been in any other situation, I wouldn't have been able to survive if I hadn't that support. You know, if they were trying to trip me up, if they had been trying to, you know, to stop the steer that was on me, I would have been in bother. And you know, I always get when I get the opportunity to acknowledge that, you know. But certainly Sydney was exciting.
I can imagine the sense of proudness and happiness and joy. A man from the Finn Valley managing his country, and you can the whole county behind you. But let's talk about home. 5 of a family, and I'm sure great credit must go to your wife, Rosalie.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. Because without her, I mean, right, you know, I mean, being honest, you know, so I make a point as well, you know, she stayed with me, she's still there, and that's a serious thing to say, and fair play to her, because but she reared 5 weans. Of course, I helped, and the weans turned out all right. You know, they're adults now, and they're married, and have grandchildren, and it's brilliant. But you know, I also tried to outline it by saying, even when I was in the house, I wasn't in the house. My head was somewhere else. So I wouldn't have been an easy man to live with a lot of the time. But she put up with me, and you know, we were two locals at the end of the day. Her family were supportive, and had good support family at all levels. Her sisters and all of that, and her late brother Joe. They all were very supportive. So it was all part of. It was kind of surviving times day to day. You know, not only in terms of your marriage, in terms of your life, but I was going at a terrible rate, and but I got on.
You used the words going at a terrible rate. What about the future? Are you going to keep the foot on the accelerator for another?
Well, in Finn Valley terms, absolutely, you know. But I have most definitely. I have very, very fortunate that I have good people that are beginning to fill the gaps, and I'm very happy to stand back. I never knew how I was going to handle that part of it, the Finn Valley part of it, and me stepping back. But I've stepped back to a great extent. But I'm still there every day. I'm still involved in everything. But I'm not the front man that I used to be. But I'm there, and I'm trying to influence and advise. But it has to move on from me. And I'm very lucky. I have people, you know, a committee now, and people beyond me, and it's their baby now. And yeah, I'm very happy to support them big time, which is very important, because sometimes when a fellow like me steps back, it can be difficult. Either I become an awkward fecker, or basically, or you know, we don't get on. And I look at it and think that maybe it's not been done right, and all that kind of carry on. But no, everything's running very smoothly, and I'm delighted, and I'm very grateful to the people that are in position now.
You're certainly well qualified to answer this next question. Let's go back 20 years ago, say. Is athletics in this county in a better place now than it was, or is there still work that needs to be done?
There's so much work to be done. Oh, absolutely. There's a hell of a lot of work to be done. But to be honest, it's way in a better place. You know, we have access to Europe now. Ryanair was a blessing. Those cheap flights, and athletes, and as people listen, they listen on a weekly basis here on Highland to me. My story's still coming from all over, not only Europe but America. You know, Donegal athletes are all over, and you know, I'm proud to say the Finn Valley crowd, my own crowd, are everywhere. I mean, even as I speak today, I have athletes training in the States, South Africa, and in Europe as of today, just alone. So I mean, and I have athletes in a plane back from England tonight. So I mean, it's a big logistics story, and but I've put the club in a good enough position to be able to handle that, and to give opportunities to athletes. And Donegal is in good shape. But yeah, there's a lot more to be done. There is a lot more to be done. There's always, you know, the day that you're happy, you're finished.
Patsy, if it was a 3-hour interview, there would still be stuff that I could bring out, because myself and my mum was preparing this interview on Friday, and there's a lot of stuff I could. But one final question, and it's a tough question. Patsy McGonagle's greatest achievement.
Oh, greatest achievement. Well, I suppose getting that senior position in management was a big achievement. The Finn Valley Centre is a big achievement. The success of Finn Valley Athletic Club is a big achievement. I think my family a pretty big achievement, and I was also very, very, very involved in the army for many years. As an officer, and I was very proud of that. And I got to go high rank commandant in that, and I loved the army. So there was all of that, and there was probably when I'm asked a question, what was the big day, what was the biggest thing, you nearly always have to jump back to Sonia, and I was lucky enough to be in with her on a line, and she was successful. She was the best athlete in the world. And we were succeeding on the world stage, and I was lucky to be part of that. And then it moved on. I thought there'd be nobody to replace her, and then other people like David Gillick, who's at the Sports Star function now in a couple of weeks' time. People like that, and O'Rourke and Rob Heffernan, and I developed a really, really, really tight relationship with Heffernan. So I'm proud to be there in Moscow when he won the world title, and I got so excited, he was one of my own, and then Olympics, so there was so many things, Ciaran. And then there was local youngsters just doing well, and seeing the delight in their face and all that parallels with me as well.
Patsy McGonagle, I could talk to you forever, including your career as an inter-county Gaelic trainer as well. So we could talk and talk and talk all day. Patsy McGonagle, it's great having you in studio this Sunday afternoon. Looking forward to catching up with you on Friday week at the Donegal Sports Star Awards. Time for a commercial break here on Highland Radio Sunday Sport.